Welcome, everyone. I appreciate everybody's time. So we are starting off here. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm going to be a facilitator for tonight's Cyber Chat. And this is Eretmis Cyber Chat. If you are new to the family, we do this every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we encourage you to join us every Friday. There's always something new to learn. And tonight, we are going to be talking about cybersecurity interviews and why you might probably have failed your cybersecurity interview. And I know there are a lot of folks on here who have some good insights to share. But we will go through what we've prepared for the whole entire group, and then we will open the discussion to everybody, and everybody can join in. And happy 4th of July to everybody also as we are moving forward. So a lot about myself. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm a former United States Army captain. I'm the founder of Eretmis Academy and also the CEO of Eretmis Inc. Eretmis Inc. is a QSA cybersecurity company based in New York. Same as Eretmis Academy is a cybersecurity training institute based in New York. And I love to teach. I love to help cybersecurity professionals. So reason for this chat is part of my passion to help out the community and to make sure we are making more cybersecurity professionals than we need, because currently last time I checked, there is a lot of demand for cybersecurity professionals, but not enough professionals to fill that spot. I think in the United States, currently it stands around almost 700,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs. And that is not to say that the jobs will be given on a silver platter. You have to work for it. And, that is why we are doing this, we are about to discuss about interviews, because that is where the make or break comes in. And we will discuss our sales, 4th of July sale, like we always do for holidays that come up. Our 4th of July sale, we are going to discuss that later when we are wrapping it up, right? So there's going to be a sale for those who missed the previous ones and who are looking to get into the 4th of July sale. It is going to be here. So before we move on, I'm going to share my screen again. We will first tackle our cyber news like we always do, and then we move on onto some of the myths of why you failed your interview. And we still have folks coming in. So reason for going back on this. Please hold one whilst we bring this back up. All right, so I think I was having some technical issues bringing up the cyber news, but we are just going to talk about it without the pictures or the slides. So one cyber news this week is that there are a lot of the number of script kiddies, if you know who or what the script kiddies are, they are type of hackers who are kind of novice when it comes to hacking. So if you can execute any hacking exploits that you probably downloaded online, you are considered a script kiddie. And now there's been a study where kids, not so folks below the age of 18, right? They think it is cool and it's fun to, execute some hacking exploits, thinking it is not it's not harmful, right? And parents also allow most of their children unsupervised to be all over the net, right? And they are learning some of these little exploits which can get them in trouble. So that is one news that is on the rise. And then also the other one is that Google is saying that they are going to block news in Canada, because Canada came up with a legislation whereby they are forcing companies like Google and the rest to pay publishers fee when they do publish news and stuff like that, that, is being shown around in Canada. So those were the two cyber news that we're going to talk about. Now, let's jump straight into the interviews. So I'm not sure how many of you have gone to cybersecurity interviews previously or before. If you have, we are going to, open the discussion to everybody and you'll be able to share your experience. But we are first going to tackle some of the myths associated with you failing your interview, right? So being the founder of Eretmis Academy and having students going to interviews and other folks who are not our students going to interviews, from where I sit, I hear a lot of things and I get to experience, and also from interviews that I've sat on myself, there are a lot of insights, that I'm bringing to the table. And I know most folks also have some insights that might probably not even be within the cyberspace, but still is still interview, right? Interview is still interview, but we are focusing on cybersecurity interviews, which can be a bit tricky, right? I think I remember last week or last 2 weeks, Brian, he said he's very good at interviews. Mostly he will do just 1 or 2 interviews and he will land a job in his previous field. But when it came to him switching to cybersecurity, he did almost 7 or 8 interviews, right? So that goes to tell you that cybersecurity interviews is, the interviews they are based on their own, right? So, and especially if you are switching careers, it's good for you to really, learn the trade and the tricks involved here and some of the best practices that is going to help make you very successful at this. So let's first address some of the myths when you fail your interview. Just like if you fail anything, first thing is to point fingers at people, not yourself, right? So first one, they don't like me. They are probably choosing other people based on gender and color. All that is a myth, right? And they don't like you. They don't know you. They don't have any personal interest in whether you get a job or you don't, right? Their personal interest is, their own interest of getting somebody who they think can do the job, right? They don't like my school or the school that I have on there. Maybe probably you didn't go to school in the United States, or you don't have like a United States school on your resume. That is not the reason why they are not going to give you the job. Or where you live. Some people think, your zip code plays a critical role in this. It really doesn't, right? Because of your background. So maybe religious, racial, educational background, whatever your background is, or what you did previously to cybersecurity, it does and does not play any role, right? But in this instance, it's not really going to play any role. And I can guarantee you that, right? And then also, I don't have any working experience in the cybersecurity industry. So that you might think, but that is what they are looking for, right? We will explain that later. So they are looking for somebody with this number of years or from 0 to whatever number of years of experience. But we will discuss that, right? Most people hide behind the experience reason. And after talking to them, you see that experience wasn't the reason why they were not given the job. Right? And then also certifications, because I don't have certifications or I don't have any cybersecurity certification, that is why I didn't get a job. That is also the myth, right? Unless there are some instances where maybe probably you are interviewed for a government contractor, right? And even that, I will still say that is a myth, because before they give you the interview, they should have seen something, right? So maybe probably your resume was on point. If you didn't have the certifications, you wouldn't put them on there, right? So if they saw you didn't have the certification and they still went ahead to conduct the interview, then you can say because you didn't have a certification, that is why they didn't take you. Mostly, if they are so bent on the certification, they will let you know. Best practice within the industry, they will give you at least 6 months to go get whatever certification they are looking for whilst you are working, right? So these are all myths, right? Myths, and there are some, other myths that are out there, right? But these are the ones that we just came up with. So when I open the floor to everybody, you can also, maybe chime in and add other things that you think people think are the reasons why they didn't get the job, but frankly, that wasn't the reason why. Now, we are going to also look at the facts about why you didn't get the job. So what are the facts about why you didn't get the job? So first one, communication skills, right? If you didn't get the job, then there was some failure in communication. That might be one, right? Failure to be able to really let your potential employer or the hiring manager know you have the skills and the knowledge to do the job, right? Having the skills and knowledge to actually do the job is one thing. Being able to demonstrate in the form of communication, right? Being able to, articulate what you can do and the skills you have and the knowledge and skills you are bringing to the table is also a different thing altogether, right? So you might be able to, you might have the technical knowledge and abilities to do the job, but if you are not able to speak to it, then obviously they wouldn't know you can do the job. So that is one. Not speaking the employer's language or the hiring manager's language. Now we are going to discuss what is the hiring manager's language, right? Or the employer's language. And then also the one in red, this is what gets most people. And we will discuss this when we look at how to prepare for interviews. So what gets most people is a soft skills part, right? You might be thinking, but I'm going to a cybersecurity interview. Why do I need soft skills, right? I have to be really on point on the technical side and I should be fine. But I've seen this too many of them. Soft skills is what get most people, right? And when we allow people to share the experience, you will know, right? And most people also, soft skills is what will get them the job, right? Because maybe getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but with the technical side, you can always teach people and polish them up on it really quick. With soft skills, if somebody can pay attention to detail, I don't know what course or what training you can put them through within the shortest possible time for them to pay attention to detail. If they are very disorganized or if they can't work with people, they just don't like working with people. They are not, the person is not a team player, right? There's nothing you can do about it. So, and all this, mostly with soft skills, the funny part about this is they are not going to ask you directly, do you have good communication skills? Or do you have good writing skills? Do you have good team player skills? They are not going to ask you these questions directly. Soft skills, they always play into the questions that were not asked, but then they still got answers for those questions that they didn't ask. So during interviews, if they ask you 10 questions, they probably had 10 questions more that they didn't ask you, but they inferred the answers from the questions that you answered, right? And you wouldn't know. So you might think you answered all your questions right, but then they are still like, okay, you have that email of you are moving on with somebody else. Probably you didn't, you were not able to answer the questions they didn't ask well, right? And we are going to discuss that and let you know how you'll be able to answer the questions they didn't ask well. So it's kind of funny. How am I going to answer questions they didn't ask? But there is a way, and there is, a way of doing that, right? So soft skills we are going to tackle again, but we are going to move on. And not knowing enough about the company. So I always tell our students and folks who are in our job placement assistance program, if you are trying to work for a company, right, it's like trying to find a life partner. So a wife or husband, right, or any significant other, right? You can't just meet somebody on the street and say, hey, I'm going to marry you tomorrow, right? So look at it in that perspective. The company you want to work for, if you want to work for Eretmis Inc., and you come to an interview and I ask you, what do you know about Eretmis? And you just draw a blank. Like, I know it's a cybersecurity company, and that is all you know. I don't think you are ready for this marriage, right? So just think about that for a while. We are going to also talk more about this when we look at, some of the best things, like how you should go about knowing about the company. We are going to discuss that also. And one of the big ones also here is fluency. Fluency in cybersecurity language, right? What is cybersecurity language? We are going to discuss that also as we move along. Now, rehearsal and practice, right? In the Army, before we go do any mission, there are three things that we do, right? The first thing is we practice. Second thing is we practice. Third thing is we practice some more, right? So you practice, practice, practice until, you practice again, right? So most people will go to interviews without practice, and you will know why. Probably I'll put somebody on the spot and you understand exactly what I'm talking about practice, right? Now, let's say I'm just going to ask you. So before, we move on, and before I put anybody on the spot, just try to answer this question on your own without, saying it aloud, right? If you go to an interview, one of the freebies that they can give you is tell us about yourself, right? That is no technical cybersecurity thing or soft skills or nothing. Just tell us about yourself. Now, you are the one who knows yourself best than anybody else. But if you don't practice that interview question, you are going to be all over the place. And everybody can attest to this. So right now, if you just try to tell yourself about yourself, you are going to either keep going on and on and on and on, or you are going to say stuff that doesn't, have anything to do with the interview, right? So where do you draw the line about tell us about yourself? So what I mean by practice, 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 and then also for even technical questions that you think you know, if you don't practice answering them, you are going to be fumbling around, and when you answer it, you might think you are wrong, so you want to explain more, and you keep going on and on and on. And you don't want to do that, right? So the next in the list is lack of confidence. So you might be very, your knowledge base and your skill sets might be really on point, but if you really lack that confidence, you are not able to speak to things, and you are not like confidence in your own knowledge and skill. That is also going to show, right? And nobody wants. I don't think if you want to, you want to take an Uber and the driver, pulls up and you sit in it, the driver is like, well, I'm not really sure about this driving thing, but I'm going to try my best. I think you are going to get out of that Uber, right? But if they come, they pick you, they are very confident they are driving, even if their driving is not that great, they are driving with all the confidence. At least you have that peace of mind. You think they know what they are doing, right? So confidence plays a very critical role here also as well. And then the next thing that we are going to look at is pretending you know everything. You are never going to know everything in cybersecurity or in the world, right? So be comfortable in what you know to really be able to say that, well, I don't know about this, right? Because you want the job, that doesn't mean you are supposed to pretend you know everything or portray like you know everything, and then you're talking about stuff that you have no clue about, but you're admitting you know. And then if they ask you further questions about it, now they get to know you don't know. So integrity, not integrity in your CIA triad, but similar to that, right? Be confident and be comfortable in what you know. What you know is what you know. What you don't know, you can say you probably heard about it, but not very familiar with it, or not an expert in that side, right? So don't pretend you know everything. That is also one thing that is going to get people in interviews. You could have done so well up to that point. They ask you something, and if you don't know, you don't know, right? They will rather pick somebody who admits they don't know than people who are pretending they know, because that is how you break stuff. Now, the next thing that we'll look at is bad interview strategy. So we will discuss bad interview strategy and what is a great interview strategy. And the last thing, and what can also break and make you during interviews, is appearance. Most people take appearance for granted. Now, even if you are just going to do a phone interview, dress like you are going to do in-person interview. And that is going to translate into your voice and how you present yourself and everything else. Right? If you are just in your pajamas because you think they are not going to see you, your action and everything that you are going to portray is also going to portray somebody who is in the pajamas. Frankly, That is, and then also because it's similar to if you're speaking to somebody and they are smiling, it shows in their voice. If they are pissed off, it's going to show in their voice, right? So, telemarketers and other folks who do cold calls, that is one of the tricks. They dress as if they're going to talk to you in person, or even if they are not dressed in that way, at least before they speak to you, they are smiling on the other end of the phone. Right? So appearance, and especially if you are doing a Zoom, if it's a Zoom interview, if it's Meet interview, if it's a meeting that is going to be in video, make sure you are taking the time and the effort to look very presentable, formal, not even casual formal, very, very formal. And it will amaze you. You are going to be the only person, the only guy, only girl who came to that interview very formal. Everybody else is going to come just, a little bit, semi-formal, semi-casual, but, be the one who takes this very seriously, and it is going to pay off. Right now, let's look at how you are going to be, what you can do, on the other side. Looking at these facts, what can we do about it? Right. So these are going to be the tips and best practices that is going to set you apart from everybody else. And then we'll open the floor for everybody to ask their questions. And then, more things are going to come up that we are going to answer. So first, we are looking at the communication part of this, right? So mostly for most cybersecurity jobs, if you look at the job description, the skills that they are looking for, it covers technical cybersecurity knowledge and skill, and then also soft skills, right? So as part of the soft skills, mostly you see that they require you to have great communication skills, writing and speaking, right? So if you get the interview, it means your writing communication skills work. So now they are going to test the other one, and they are not going to ask you during the interview, do you have great communication skills? Because what are they doing at the interview? You are communicating with them, right? So if you are not coming off as how they want you to be, then obviously they are not going to give you that job. It's not the most technical person who gets the job all the time, right? And not even all the time. You can be the most technical. Let's say if you are grading you in terms of how technical in terms you are in terms of knowledge and skill, you can be 100%. If somebody is 80 and they have other skills going on for them, they will pick that person, over you anytime and any day, right? So how do you become a great communicator? We don't normally teach that in any cybersecurity training, right? But in our internships, what we do is we make our interns do presentations. So at least that is going to force you. And then also you are going to be in teams and groups. So within your group meetings and stuff, we also make leaders and team leaders. And so you are forced to at least kind of learn a little bit of, great communication, right? But for interview purposes, just for everybody else, what is really going to help, even if you are really bad at communicating or speaking in public or speaking or interviews in general, practice is what is going to help. You have to practice, 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 right? Is similar to any other skill, right? If you are really bad at running, and Dr. Edu is, naturally I'm a good runner, and I sleep on it, but then you practice for almost a year, and I don't do anything, and we have to, meet at this competition and run or compete for, anything. We have to run like this number of miles. Obviously, I'm super good at running, but if I don't practice and you've been practicing, even though you are weak, you've been practicing for a year, and you are very diligent about your practice, you are going to win, right? So no matter how bad you are, or you think you are bad at, communication, if you practice in terms of rehearsing your interview, rehearsing your answers, rehearsing, so you might be asking, so what answers am I going to rehearse? We'll talk about that in the strategy part, right? So rehearsing your answers, rehearsing scenarios that you're going to give during the interviews, when you go to the interview, it becomes easy and simple, right? You can be the great or a very great speaker, a great communicator. If you don't prepare and you don't practice or you don't rehearse, it is going to show, right? So even though maybe your natural ability is going to help you a little bit, but if you did some practice or some rehearsal, you would have maybe probably landed the job, in a more easier fashion than maybe if you're still going to get the job. So now let's move into speaking the employer's language. Now, what is the employer's language? So if you ask most folks who come to interviews, so why should we hire you, right? Your hiring manager is asking, why should we hire you? Or why should we choose you over other candidates that are equally qualified like you? Most folks, they will just go straight to default mode of how the job is going to help them, right? So either it's going to help them, build up their career, is either going to help them to do A, B, or C, or help them do something. But I have a bad news for you. Your employer or hiring manager really care less about what the job is going to do for you. They don't care about you. They really don't, right? Regardless of what anybody will say, in our company, we care about our employees. They don't. What they care about is themselves, right? The company cares about them. So what language do they speak? Their language is about them, how you are going to help them. So anything and everything you are saying is about how you'll be able to help them move from point A to point B. So if you go about, so that is the language employers speak, or hiring managers. And for hiring managers, they also speak two languages. For hiring managers themselves or for recruiters, they speak two languages, right? So if one, like, just imagine you are a hiring manager or you are a recruiter, right, for a company, for Eretmis Inc. What is your job? Your job is to pick the best candidate who is going to stay with the company for the longest, right? That way the company doesn't have to waste money and resources to turn around after a month of employing somebody to go look for a new candidate. So if you are a recruiter or you are a hiring manager and all your hires are bad, guess who is going to be fired next? You. So as a hiring manager or a recruiter, they have two interests, or they speak two languages, or like two languages, right? So the first language is how you, as a candidate that they are going to employ, or they are going to give you the green light, how are you going to make them look good? First is about them, as an individual, it's about the hiring manager. How are you going to let him or she look good, right, in front of their boss, or just for them, for the company to know that they are a good hiring manager or a good recruiter? And the second language they speak is how are you going to help the company, right? So like I said, everybody is selfish to a point, right? So the hiring manager is also, during the interviews, his job is also on the line. So just think about that for a second. So during the interview, if you come off as somebody who is reliable, who is not just going to get on the job and then the next day, hey, I got a new offer that is paying me more, so I'm leaving, right? Then now they are going to look bad, right? And two, they don't want you to come in there and then you can't do the job, right? They are still going to look bad. So what language do they speak? For you to, get past the gatekeepers of hiring managers or recruiters, you have to speak their language. So everything that you're talking about and saying, you have to give them that sense of security and assurance that you have integrity. You are somebody who takes things seriously, right? So if you do get employed, you are not going, and you are loyal to a point, right? Everybody loves money. We are in it to make money. And then also, if it's a good organizational culture, you stay in there for a while. But obviously, if you get a bigger offer, if they are paying you 120 and somebody gives you 200, obviously you are going to leave. But if you are somebody with some loyalty, at least you are going to let them know, hey, can you guys match it up? If they can't match that offer, then obviously you have to leave. It's understandable, right? But you have to come off as somebody who is reliable, who is loyal, right? And how do you come off as that, right? How well you prepared for the interview, attention to detail, right? All that is going to speak to, and this is one of the questions they are not going to ask you, but they are going to infer their answers from your appearance, from the answers you are giving, how well prepared you were for the interview, right? It will come off as somebody who takes things seriously, somebody whose head is screwed on, right? And then two, how would you be able to help the organization in terms of helping them protect their security infrastructure, right? So that will go into the technical aspect of it. But everything that you are answering, so for example, if they ask you, they've gone through, you've gone through 3 interviews, you did really well. Now you are doing your last interview, and maybe the CISO is asking you, why do you want to work for us, right? Why do you want to work for us? The answer should be about them, not you. So they just keep that in mind. So mostly a trick to this is, why do you want to work for us? You shouldn't speak anything about how if you get employed, how it's going to help you do anything. It should be about how you are going to help them with the skill set you have, how you are going to help them solve whatever problem, but you should have done some research and identify some areas that you think they can polish upon, right? And then also one area to get this answer really on point is to make sure you know the company's mission and vision statements, right? So you know what their mission is, what their vision is. So although that is on the business side, everything you are doing in cybersecurity is to help the business side progress, right? So if you know their vision is to become the best shoe company in the United States in the next 6 years, they cannot be the best shoe company in the United States in the next 6 years if they get breached every 2 months, or if they get breached, or there is like a huge, cyber attack on their company. That is going to affect their vision, right? So whatever role that they are employing you to come work at, whatever you are going to do there is to help prevent such breaches. So knowing that their vision is to become the next, big thing in shoe, you can relate that to what you are going to do as a security professional in terms of your knowledge and skill, and explain how that is your knowledge and skill is going to help them protect their security assets or their IT assets whilst the company will. So if you are protecting their assets, the company, the business people are going to have that peace of mind and that security to be able to get to the vision of the organization, right? I hope that makes sense to everybody. So there is no right or way to this, but this is the structures that you need to be able to, make it work, right? So this is just a framework for you to go off on. And now I think everybody gets the point, right? So the language of your employer or hiring manager, for the company, their language is one, and everybody that works in there, if you are going in and you are talking to them, what are you going to do for them? Not for you, right? If the money is good, it's going to help you and your family, they really care less. What they care about is, what are you going to do for them? So everything that you are saying, whether you genuinely believe in their mission statement or you don't, you make it sound like you do, right? Because if you don't, then why do you want to work for them in the first place, right? So since you want the job, right, whether you are lying or you are telling the truth, that is really, on you. But the best practice and the trick to this is to make sure you are speaking their language, right? Last thing you want to do is they speak French and you are speaking Chinese. Everything that you are saying is just falling on, on the wrong side, because they don't hear whatever you are saying if you are not speaking their language. Now we move into technical skills. Technical skills, we are talking strictly cybersecurity technical skills. Now most people get into this space of when we say technical in cybersecurity or in IT, most people just go straight into coding, into, you know, forensics, ethical hacking. No, all those are part of the technical knowledge and skills that, you know, you might need depending on what job you're applying to. But all knowledge in cybersecurity is technical knowledge, right? Example, if I am speaking about principle of least privilege, it has nothing to do with coding. But if you just go on the street and you ask anybody, hey, what is the principle of least privilege? You can even ask like a medical doctor. He doesn't know because he's not in cybersecurity, right? That is a technical knowledge. So when we say technical, everything in cybersecurity is technical. So for folks mostly who are like, yeah, I want the non-technical part, I just want to go into GRC, everything is technical. So it's not just coding. If you don't want to do coding, understandable. You don't want to do ethical hacking, that's fine. But remember that there is nothing like non-technical area of cybersecurity because all knowledge in cybersecurity is technical. Now, with that being said, for whatever job title that you're applying to, you have to make sure that you have a very good working knowledge of all areas in cybersecurity, right? And if you want to know where all the major areas in cybersecurity, you can take a look at our entry-level curriculum, right? So identity and access management, you should have a good working knowledge in identity and access management, cryptography, networking, right? So for folks who want to run away from networking, want to run away from cryptography, but they want to work in GRC, don't kid yourself. Because in cybersecurity, everything is everywhere. So you can be doing GRC and run away from networking. You can be doing ethical hacking and run away from networking. You can be doing, so maybe in GRC, you're not going to be doing coding, understandable. But when I say a good working knowledge, you don't necessarily have to be an expert in all areas, but at least you should have a good working knowledge to hold a conversation or to understand, most especially for folks who want to go into GRC. In GRC, what are you doing? Mostly you'll be overseeing other people's work, or you'll be overseeing, maybe doing some auditing or some compliance stuff, right? So if you don't know what right looks like, how are you going to really function in that area, right? So to know what right looks like, you should make sure you have a good working knowledge in all areas. So identity and access management, cryptography, risk management, cybersecurity architecture, governance, right? So have a good working knowledge. Mostly if you take, if you want to know the major areas, the exams objective for Security Plus, CISSP, and I think for both of them, if you combine both of them, you should be good. I'm not talking about the certification or the exam itself, the objectives, right? The areas that the exam covers. If you take that to be, so maybe you're probably doing self-study, or even if you are in one of our courses, if you take that and you combine them, you have a good working knowledge of all those areas, you should be good for any cybersecurity job, probably with the exception of pen testing. Right? So with the technical side, you have to make sure you have a good working knowledge, and then also just jumping ahead of myself into not knowing everything. You are not going to know everything. So but if you are very confident in your working knowledge, you will be confident also enough to let everybody know that I don't know this, right? So if you take your technical skills very seriously without trying to, dodge or to skip anything, because there's no easy way out. Somebody will tell you, okay, what is the easiest cybersecurity area, or there is no easy way, right? If you want to do this, it's just pure hard work and endurance, right? So you just have to stay with it. It is very doable. Everybody on this call can do it, but you just have to tell yourself you are going to put in the work, and then also you have to be willing to learn, right? Be flexible and willing to learn, because you are not going to know everything, but then there's always more to be. And the more you know, the more you don't know. Right? I hope that makes sense. So the more you know, you get to know that there is more stuff out there that you are not probably familiar with. But what I tell everybody is that if your foundation is really good in cybersecurity, everything, regardless, uh, everything that happens in terms of issues and problems that you have to solve, we always break it down to the fundamentals, right? So if you understand the fundamentals well, you can function anywhere. There can be new software, there can be new theories coming up, but if your fundamentals are good, you have a very great fundamentals, uh, you can function anywhere, right? So your fundamentals being that you have a good working knowledge of networking, cryptography, and the rest, right? And you'll be able to sit at any table and hold in a meaningful discussion with anybody on any of these topics, right? And if there's a problem, you'll be able to contribute to it also as well in terms of the solving of the problem, right? Now, the next thing that we are going to talk about is the soft skills, right? So we have the hard skills, which is just technical skills, and then your soft skills. So the soft skills include anything from team player, team leadership, leadership itself, management, your managerial skills, paying attention to detail, being innovative, thinking outside the box, everything else that you can talk about, right? Communication skills, writing skills, interpersonal skills, right? Working in a team. So all these skills are skills that everybody on here has built over the years. At least if not all of it, most part of it, right? You either go to church, you've been to school, you work, you are in a family, right? So you communicate with people. We all communicate with people. So communication skills, if you are good or bad, you know, right? In the professional setting, in terms of work, you work in groups, you've been working in teams. All those skills sets you are bringing, you can bring from elsewhere. It doesn't have to be in cybersecurity, right? So that is why most often, like I tell people, when it gets to experience, right? You see a job description that is accent that has 10 maybe skill sets that they are looking for. Five of it is technical skills, five of it is soft skills. And some people will just say, "Oh, I don't have any working experience in cybersecurity." Like, what are you talking about? The communication skills and interpersonal skills and all that other soft skills that you are bringing from your current field, it is also part of the skills they are looking for, right? So if they are looking for 10 and you have five already that you are bringing from elsewhere, all you need is probably maybe two or three technical skills and you should be good, right? So most people sell themselves short when it comes to experience, right? And we will discuss that here as we are moving on because some cybersecurity jobs are more heavy on soft skills, right? So, for example, if the company wants a senior manager to manage and oversee maybe DevOps folks and cybersecurity GRC folks, are they going to choose somebody who is very technical, or they are going to choose somebody who is very technical but with no managerial leadership skills, or they are going to choose somebody who is less technical or almost non-technical with managerial skills and a lot of leadership skills? You know, you decide. Obviously, they're going to pick somebody with leadership and managerial skills over somebody with very heavy technical skills but can't lead anybody to save themselves, like to save their life, right? Or can't manage people or hate working with people. They just want to be working on their own project and submitting those projects and go home, right? So there is always going to be you have to, and in terms of like the job that you are choosing, you have to also find that balance. So if you are new coming into cybersecurity, you have to pick jobs that will, you know, that probably will take into consideration your soft skills that you are bringing on board more than even the technical side. Like there are a lot of jobs that are out there like that, right? So if you've been a manager in your previous job for 10, 15 years and you want to switch into cybersecurity, don't think you are going to start from zero. All that skill set, leadership, managerial that you are bringing, it counts. It counts more than you think it counts, right? So although still to work or function in the security space, you still need some technical knowledge, but the soft skills that you need is what you are really going to, there's the soft skills here. If you are going in a position that requires more soft skills, what you've gotten over the years is what is going to help you do the job, not the cybersecurity training that you just got, right? So soft skills, also moving into the question aspect. So I talked about questions that are not going to be asked during interviews, but they are still going to look for answers to those questions. Most of these questions are going to be soft skills questions. So one, they might not ask you, are you a good team leader or a good team player? But if they ask you a question about, hey, what is your experience maybe doing third-party risk management, or what is your experience leading an audit or being part of an audit, right? Make sure the answers that you are giving, right? All the answers that you are giving, all your answers should be in a form of a scenario. Don't go to interviews with a yes or no answer. Do you know how to use any SIM tool? Yes. So if your answers are just yes and no, you are going to, draw more questions to yourself, right? So your answer should be in a scenario form. And when you come with a lot of scenarios and explain projects that you've worked on and how it went. So mostly we teach our students the STAR method of answering interview questions. So the scenarios should follow the trend of there has to be a situation, there has to be a task, there has to be an action that you took, and there has to be a result, right? That is the format your scenarios you follow. Now, if you answer all your questions or almost all your questions in this fashion, the interviewer will be skipping questions, right? What you want to do, if you know how you are going to know if your interview is going well, is that when they ask you one or two questions and they want to go to the third question, they are going to look at their paper and say, oh, you answered that. So they will skip like 2 or 3. If that is happening in your interview, then you should know it is going well. Because some of the questions and the ones that is in their head that they are not asking, if you answer your questions in scenario forms, you will be able to answer those as well, right? So they can ask you a technical question, and then in answering your technical question, you're also going to bring in the soft skills aspect. So maybe probably if they ask you of your experience of using a SIM tool or your experience in recommending a solution to a client, right? And in your previous job or in internship or something that you've done, you and your team were supposed to pick a solution, like a software solution for a client or for your company. Now, it's not just about the technical aspect of this, but you were in a team. How did the team work? Right? How did the team go about meeting, discussing, picking which solution was the best? And then you can get into the technical aspect of it as well, right? What was the situation? What was the task assigned to the team? What was the action you took or the team took? And you being part of the team, what was the results, right? You can also bring in some of the problems and issues your team had and how you resolved it or how the team resolved it moving forward, right? So in answering just this one question, that was a technical question, you spoke into your ability to work in a team, your ability to handle team conflict, if you're the team leader, your ability to, your interpersonal skills. So just answering that one question, you've answered a lot of questions that they didn't ask. And then also the ones that they had written down that they're about to ask, they are going to skip a lot of them, right? But if you just go with yes or no, and mentioning just the items that they are looking for, that draws more questions. Because, for example, if I'm sitting on an interview and I ask you, do you know how to use any SIM tool, or mention one SIM tool that you are familiar with, and you just say QRadar, my next question is going to be, how did you use it? Right? And now, you're probably going to say one or two things. We used it to do A, B, C, D. Okay, how did that work out? So you see how that is going to draw more questions, which you probably didn't prepare for, right? But if instead of just saying QRadar, you gave the background to why your company even used QRadar and how you got to, know QRadar and how you used it without them asking, you'll be in a better place than somebody who just opens themselves up, right, for more punches. So it's just like boxing, right? If you don't cover your face, they are going to punch you. So how you cover your face is making sure that you are coming in with scenarios, and good scenarios for that matter, right? And then also one thing, still in this space, your answers should be sweet, concise, and straight to the point. And also not forgetting the fact that the devil is in the details. So you are not going to make your answers lengthy and just made up with fluff. At the same time, you are not just going to give yes or no answers, right? So you have to find, get a fine, fine tune your answer to the point where it is straight to the point without missing any vital details, right? So soft skills, they play a critical role. Most of our students who do not get their job in the first, second try, most of it, when you do talk to them after interviews, we are able to know that it was soft skills that really didn't get them there, right? And because of that, we started really, getting deep into the soft skills aspect. So although you came to learn cybersecurity, we end up taking you through, like example, what we are doing right now. For the job placement assistance that we offer, we take you through soft skills as well, because that is mostly the make or break for most students, right? And I think for last 2 weeks, Lumen got his first cybersecurity job, and he spoke to this, that it was the soft skills that got him the job more so than his technical knowledge and skills, right? So that is why soft skills is in red. So if you are trying to get into cybersecurity, it behooves you to pay attention to this, because you have some of these skills already, right? But how you'll be able to position yourself, and how you'll be able to answer interview questions. If you don't get insights like this, you wouldn't know, right? And might be selling yourself short. You are already prepared going to interviews thinking it's going to be just technical, and then they throw this question at you. So you are in a team, right? This is a natural question that a lot of students will get during interviews. So you are going to interviews thinking it's going to be technical questions. So you are ready to talk about your CIA triad and all that. And they ask you, hey, John, so if you're in a team and one of your team members is not, playing their part in the team, what are you going to do about it? Now, that if you are not prepared for that, that is going to throw you off, right? And now you start talking about, I'm going to, identify what the problem is, and I'm going to discuss with them, and I'm going to, right? If you don't know how to answer this question, everything that you are going to be saying is wrong. They will be there nodding their head and okay. But whatever you are saying is just a bunch of nonsense, right? And because you didn't prepare, you're going to be all over the place. Trust me, I've seen that too many of them. You're going to be all over the place because you don't know that what you are saying is good enough, or have to add more to it. So you're going to keep talking and talking and talking. Now, some people even go to the point of, well, I'll try to resolve it, or I'll try to talk to him. If he still doesn't do what he's supposed to do, I'll report to the manager. They know the manager is there, and they're asking you, what are you going to do about it, right? And then sometimes they even go further. If they've seen that you are struggling with it and going around in circles, they ask you, okay, so you did all that, he still or she still didn't do what they're supposed to do. He doesn't show up to group meetings, and the task or what you have to do as a group or as a team is almost about to, like your time is almost like the time allocated is almost up, and he's still not bringing his part of the project. What are you going to do about it? After everything that you've done, if it still didn't work, what are you going to do about it? Now, at that point, that is the kill. There is nothing else that you're going to say. Like, they are looking for a certain answer, and you didn't get it. You are all over the place. So now they are driving you back to it. Whatever you did still didn't work. What are you going to do about it? Right? If you don't prepare for such questions, your technical skills is not going to save you. Right? So now let's move to the next line. I can talk about soft skills all day, as you can see. Let's move to the next item on here. So know the company that you want to work for, right? What I tell everybody is this: know more about the company that you want to work for than the people who work there. Right? That might sound crazy, but it's very doable and it's easy because most people who work there, they just work there. Very few might know the history and why the company, does what they do and the mission statement and the vision statement, right? Knowing about the company is not hard. Just go to their website, right? Read about their mission statement, their vision statement, who the CEO is, who the CFO is, what are they about, how the company was set up, what do they really do, and what drives them, right? What is the organizational culture there? You can get all this information on their website. So if you are the owner of the company and you interview 5 people and you ask them the same question, what do you know about my company? I'm going to tell you for a fact, probably not even one is going to be able to tell you anything substantial about the company because they are just thinking about the cybersecurity, technical stuff and what is on the job description, forgetting about the company. But what most people also miss is this: for every job description, the very first portion of the job description, the company talks about themselves. We are company a shoe company that, believes in ABCD. We have a very strong cybersecurity team we are looking for. So even if you don't go to their website and you go to the interview and they ask you, what do you know about our company? And you don't know, it means one, you don't pay attention to detail because on the job description, they gave a biography about the company. That is the first thing before you even jump into what you are going to do or the skills they are looking from you, like the skills that the skills and the knowledge that they require you to know, right? Mostly you see what you will do and skills, you need and something like that on those lines. But before that, there is always a history about the company, something about the company before that, right? So if you just keep that, like what most people do, they just ignore that and go straight to the job description, right? So if you come to an interview and they ask you about the company and you don't know anything or you are just like what you know is very minimal, it means you don't pay attention to detail. You don't read because like that was a free one that they gave you on the job description. So if you took the time and also went to the website and read about the company and took some notes, that can be the make or break for them giving you the job or not, right? Regardless of your technical skills, right? So I know some students who are working now who went to interviews and that was the main, break or like that was the main item that got them the job, right? Because they knew more about the company than every other candidate. So if all other candidates are almost on the same level in terms of knowledge and skill, this is something that you can use as an edge over others, right? So, and the example that I gave, why are you going to marry somebody that you don't know, right? So the company that you want to work for, if you truly want to work for them, then at least you should know about them, right? If they want to also have you on there, if you are lucky and they don't ask you anything about the company, that is fine. But still, you are playing the lottery at that point because they can ask you anything, right? So look at it like more like a marriage. Now, somebody also might say, but I'm applying to like 200 companies a day. And but you don't get 200 interviews. Even if you do get 200 interviews, make sure for every single interview, you go ahead, research about the company, take notes, go into the interview knowing more about the company than whoever is interviewing you. And I can tell you, 9 out of 10, you are going to know more about, if you do your research, you are going to know more about the company than the person interviewing you. So now let's move into cybersecurity language. So cybersecurity language is just like any other language, or cybersecurity itself is a language. Every field is a language, right? If you want to go into the medical field, you want to be a nurse, nursing is a language. You should be able to speak the nursing language, right? So for people trying to get into the cybersecurity field, look at it more from the perspective of a language. So try and learn the language rather than trying to. Most people think you can just understand the concepts and speak it in your own everyday language. It is wrong. That is not going to get you the job, right? So you have to make sure you are using the right words, the right acronyms, the right, sentences. Not even like sentences. You just, for cybersecurity language, know terminologies, words, and acronyms, right? So if you have to explain something, you have to use the keywords to explain whatever you're explaining, right? An example, if I ask you, what is a policy in cybersecurity, or what is a guideline in cybersecurity, or guidelines, what is a standard, right? When you're explaining it, you have to make sure you are explaining using the right words. Because if I ask you about what is a policy, and you tell me a policy is a guideline that is used in, that is wrong, because a guideline is also another document in cybersecurity. So are you saying a policy is the same as a guideline? Right? So that is just one example. But what I'm trying to say is try to explain things using cybersecurity language, right? And then also, aside using cybersecurity language, also try to make sure that you are able to explain things in very simple terms, right? That is also a skill that mostly they look for. So you should be able to break complex cybersecurity concepts into everyday terms. Now, if you are breaking it down to that level, that is fine. You don't necessarily have to be using big or typical cybersecurity language. But if you are answering questions, they ask you, what is your understanding of the CIA triad? Or, how do you do scoping in maybe some framework, right? You have to make sure you are using the right language. So aside you speaking, employers' language is just everyday language, but it's just a mindset that they have. That is why we've termed it as employers or hiring managers' language. Here is technical, right? Cybersecurity language is technical. So make sure you are familiarizing yourself with it and you are becoming fluent in it. Now we are going to move to the most important part of all this, rehearsals and practice. So like I said, in the military, what we do is before we do any mission, we practice, 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 practice until it becomes muscle memory. And even at that point, we practice some more, right? So for every interview that you are going to, rehearse your questions and answers. So rehearse your answers, right? So a very simple way, if you might ask, so how do I get the questions? Now, that is no secret. The questions is in the job description. So if they want you to, what you are going to do, the first thing is you are going to develop policies and procedures for our security team. The next one is you are going to help us with our PCI compliance. Now that is very obvious. The first question that you should ask yourself is, how do I develop security policies, right? Or what is your experience developing security policies? So for 90 to 95% of the time, most interviews, they will stay on scripts. So what do I mean by that? They will go by the job description, right? There is this maybe one time or the 5% or 10% where you might have somebody on the interview panel or the person interviewing you who might just go off script and probably wouldn't talk about anything on the job description. Like that is different. But even with that, if you prepared with a job description, at least you'll be able to survive that interview, right? But 90% of the time they stay on script. So prepare with a job description. Now go line by line. Ask yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this, right? So, and you write it in a scenario form based on what you've done previously or how you think is supposed to be done. Because, and also you are not going to know everything on the job description. You are not. Don't kid yourself. You are not going to know everything on it. But it is still safe to go to those interviews because guess what? You are not going to do everything on the job description on the job. But it's good to at least know, 70 to 60% of, or 60 to 70% of what is on the job description, right? That way you can speak to it. Maybe the 30% that you don't know, school yourself on it, right? Do some research about it, right? Because the last thing you want to do is go to an interview, almost most of the stuff on there. The ones you don't know, you didn't do anything about it, right? So if they ask you about, okay, so what is a CCPA, or like what is your understanding of CCPA, and you are there like, I don't know. That is just the lazy man's approach, because they gave you a time to prepare for the interview. So at least, oh, I know CCPA is like data privacy policy, or like data privacy that is implemented in California. It's about this and this and this and that. But I've not actually worked with it in any setting, but I know this is what it's about. At least they know you are a learner, right? So they can train you. You are trainable, rather than knowing it is on the job description and go like, I don't know, right? That is a lazy man approach. So you are not going to know everything, or you are not going to have used or have done everything on the job description. So also, this is also to speak to you, to let you know that when you're applying for jobs, if you don't recognize everything that is on the job description, that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply for it, right? But then also, if you don't know anything on the job description, please don't apply it. Because if you do, you are just going to make a fool out of yourself during the interviews. Right? So at least you should know a good, I'll say 50 to 60, 70%, and the rest you can screw yourself on it. That is normal industry practice. So because you are not going to know everything, that is a fact. If you are waiting to know everything on every job description, then you are never going to work in cybersecurity. That is a fact, right? So now let's move on into confidence. So how to build your confidence up? You are not going to be confident if you didn't prepare for the interview. And preparation is what we've talked about so far, right? There are some things on the job description that you don't know, and you didn't take the time, or you didn't bother to even know, right? So you didn't do any research about it. That is going to reduce your confidence. Two, if you show up to the interview, if it's in person and you show up late, stress is going to kind of reduce your confidence, right? If you dress well, it is going to boost your confidence, even if you are speaking over the phone. If it's not in person, and even if it's just on the phone and you are dressed well, dressing well, does something to your psyche. So make sure your appearance is on point, even if you are not going to be seen by anybody, right? And what is also going to really set you apart in terms of confidence is knowing your stuff. So if you know your stuff and you are well prepared, even for interviews, there's going to be some level of stress, right? I've not seen anybody going into any interview with, there's going to be some level of stress, which is good. It's good. If there is no stress, then you have to check yourself, right? And probably there's something wrong, right? So if there's no stress, then you are underestimating your enemy. And in this instance, it's not real enemy, but whoever is going to interview you, if you underestimate your enemy, you are going to be so wrong, right? So there has to be some level of stress that will keep you on your toes. But if you are well prepared, then confidence is going to show. If you are well dressed, confidence is going to show, right? And if you give yourself time, you show up early, or even if it's Zoom, you are ready, right? You make sure, like the stress, you don't stress yourself because you are rushing into it, or something on those lines, right? And getting back to, you wouldn't know everything. You are never going to know everything. So accept that. That is a fact. I don't know everything. There are some stuff that some people will run by you and you're like, what the heck is that? I don't know, and I don't care, because I don't know. I frankly don't know, right? And I'm not going to pretend I know, because I'm confident in what I know, right? So if maybe that is something new, It's not in my line of work that I use every day. So if I don't know, it's part of cybersecurity, that's fine. So, but I'm not going to pretend I know, right? And if I was going to an interview, I'll do my research on it, and that way I'll be able to speak intelligently about it. I'm not just going to show up and say I don't know, right? That is just the lazy man approach, right? Or the lazy girl approach. So now let's get into great interview strategy. What is a great interview strategy? So great interview strategy, the best interview strategy is being well prepared, right? And then 2, practicing your interview questions over and over and over and over again, right? To the point where when they ask you the question, you know exactly where you are going with this, right? So an example, tell me about yourself. I'll give the floor to everybody, and we'll ask 3 people to tell us about themselves. I'm going to tell them the role and the company they are going to, that they are applying, to work in, and also the role that they are going to be in and what the role entails. And then after that, I'm going to tell them to tell us about themselves, and let's see how they answer it. I'm going to have, everybody is going to be a judge, right? So once we're done, 3 people will answer, and everybody else will judge, right? And then you are going to tell me why you think this person's was best, why this person's, need to fix something on it. Now, if you have a good strategy going into this, everything else that we talked about, everything that we've discussed, should be in your strategy. It should be part of your strategy, right? So great strategy is you are well prepared, you are confident, you are well dressed, you know your stuff, right? You know your stuff. Things that you don't know, you've researched and you know enough about it that you can speak intelligently about it, right? There is nothing like, I don't know. If it is something that is not on the job description and they just brought it up from their magic hat, just say you don't know, right? For those, you can just, if you didn't know prior to the interview, you really don't know. So just be frank with them, you don't know. But if it's something that was on the job description, please don't go to the interview and tell them, I don't know anything about it. You should be able to at least research and speak to what it is. You can let them know you don't have a working experience with it. So an example, if maybe probably they have a tool on there, you've never used QRadar, and they say, okay, what do you know about QRadar? I know QRadar is a SIM tool, it's used for this and that and that. It's similar to this tool that I used to use, but for QRadar, I don't really have an experience using it. They will prefer that, and they will train you on it, right? As opposed to somebody, yeah, I used to use it in my old job. How did you use it? Now you are stuck, because how you use QRadar, you can't read it anywhere, right? You actually have to do it to be able to speak to how you use it. So if you don't know, you don't know, right? But a good strategy is everything that we talked about, right? And appearance, I can't stress on that enough. So we are almost wrapping it up, and then we open the floor for all comments. And I know there are a lot of folks on here who have some good insights that we can also learn from. And hopefully everything that we talked about helped. And we are just going to move straight into the July 4th sale. Happy 4th of July to everybody, even though we have some 3 days or so to go. But we'll be running a sale again for everybody who missed the Memorial Day. Now, after July 4th, I don't think there's going to be any sale until, I'm not sure, maybe until, I don't know what holiday is coming up just offhand, but November is what is in my sights, right? And I think that is what we have planned on our calendar. So this is probably going to be like the last one for the summer before we get into November thereabout, right? So if you go to our website for any of our courses that you might be interested in, the coupon code is July 4. So just July and then 4, right? No space, July 4, right? So now we always talk about our career path, right? For anybody who's trying to get into cybersecurity, Eretmis is the place to be. Eretmis Academy. If you go to our website, we have free courses. Cybersecurity for Beginners is a really good course that is going to give you some introduction into cybersecurity. What are the job titles in cybersecurity? What do they do in those job titles? And other stuff. What is the demand for cybersecurity professionals within your state, within the United States, within your metro area? all those numbers, we will show you where to find that, right? And then also average salary for cybersecurity professionals and what cybersecurity professionals really do. All that, you get that in the Cybersecurity for Beginners. It's a free course. So if you've not taken that already, please do. Even if you are in cybersecurity already, I bet you are going to learn something new from this free course, right? If you don't, I'll give you $100. So, and then also cybersecurity, PCI for Beginners, right? If you're interested in the payment card industry, it's a niche within cybersecurity. We have a free course for you to also go through as well. And then for our paid courses, for career path, if you are starting off in cybersecurity, our cybersecurity entry-level course is going to be the best option for you. It covers everything you need in terms of good working knowledge for cybersecurity skills. It covers all the, like, how to use some of the cybersecurity tools, popular cybersecurity tools, like SIM tools, Splunk, Nexus, and the rest. And then also we have 2 months of internship where you are going to work on real cybersecurity projects for two of our sister companies. And that is going to count towards your experience in the cybersecurity field. And then also job placement assistance, where we help you find a job. So what we did today, talking about, why you failed your cybersecurity interview, it's all part of job placement assistance. And with our students, we help them with resume prep, resume rewrite, cover letters, interview prep, which is the most important, your strategy going into interviews, how to answer questions. And we practice, we do mock interviews with our students for every single job that they have to go to, right? So mostly our students, they have to give us like 3 days prior to the interview, and then, we help them out on that area as well. And we have our PCI DSS training, where we have the PCI expert and PCI specialist training. With a PCI expert, we are training you to gain the knowledge and skill of a QSA without the title of a QSA, but you'll be able to function either work in a QSA company or for a merchant, helping them stay in compliance. With a specialist, we are training you to be an internal assessor for any merchant or service provider company, right? If you want to learn more about that, you can take the PCI for Beginners, and that will help you to gain some understanding of what PCI is all about. So we are going to move into questions and answers, right? And if there are any comments or concerns, you can bring it up. But hopefully this really helps everybody who is trying to get into the interviewing field or get into the market field for cybersecurity. And for folks who have been to interviews, I hope this helps maybe to answer some of the questions that you might have for interviews that went well and the ones that didn't go so well. So we are going to, there are some questions in the chat. And the military can I use tuition assistant? So Arnold, we are unable to accept tuition assistant at this time. We are still working on it. We are working on VETech. Hopefully, if that goes through, we'll be able to jump on tuition assistant later on. So Joe is also talking about if you have applied for 200 companies and there is a phone call, when do you research the company and speak about it? Do you defer the phone call? Okay, so Joe, if a recruiter calls you and they want to interview you right there and then, you don't have to do the interview, right? Mostly for recruiters, when they call you, it's not an interview. They just want to know what you're about. So, like what have you done and stuff like that. So those are just simple things. They are not going to ask you what do you know about a company. If it's just the first call, that is not going to be the interview, right? And if maybe for some reason it's a crazy recruiter, they want to just call you out of the blue and interview you, a full-blown interview, you can tell them, hey, this is not a good time. Can you probably call me maybe like tomorrow at 10 or something, to give yourself time, right? You have that, you are at liberty to give yourself time. So hopefully that helps with that answer. Okay, for explaining. Yeah, so somebody was asking, how am I going to practice my interviews? So with your interviews, you can practice it with family, friends, your significant other, right? So like I always tell people, the practicing part, right? It is not for maybe you are practicing with your wife or your husband or your son or your daughter or your brother or your sister, right? You practicing for them, they don't know cybersecurity. So obviously, if what you are saying is nonsense, they wouldn't know. But that is not the goal. It's not for them to grade you on whatever you are saying. The goal is just for you to have that repetition. So saying it aloud and phrasing it, because when you do that, you yourself, it is helping you because as you are speaking, you are thinking, and you will know whether you are speaking trash or what you are saying is good, right? So, and how you are coming off in terms of delivery, they will be able to tell you that, hey, I think, like you can say it in a better way, or it can be more smooth if you keep practicing, right? So the goal is just for you to practice, not for them to necessarily rate you. Now, if you are practicing with somebody who is also in the security space, then that is even better because now they can rate you on what you are talking about, right? So, but the goal is just for you to practice. So if you have to speak in front of the mirror by yourself, you just have to say it aloud, and practice and practice and practice. Okay, so yeah, Julius asks, if the interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself, can you say something like, I don't want to bore you talking about myself? What problems the company is facing is what I can help you. No, Julius, tell me about yourself. You have to tell them about yourself. Now, let me give you this, tip. Mostly when they say, tell me about yourself, right? That is for you, it should be a freebie. For them, they just don't want to, they really care less about you, right? Frankly, like that is the honest truth. Tell me about yourself is all part of the answers that they are looking for questions they are not going to ask you, right? So before I even get into the tell me about yourself part, I think there was one cyber chat where one of our students is a while ago, I think almost more than a year. One of our students, Dedrick, we were doing job placement assistant-ish cyber chat like this. And he brought this issue up. He went to an interview, right? And the lady, they were just holding a normal, casual conversation. And the lady didn't ask him anything about cybersecurity or even soft skills or no question really. They were just talking about the weather and, where do you live? I live in Virginia. And why did you move to Virginia? Where did you live previously? Questions like that, right? None really, you might not even consider that as interview questions. So to him, they didn't do the interview, right? But then the next day, the lady sent him an email saying they are moving on with a new candidate. And he wanted to punch her in the face. Because to him, there was no interview. So like, what is she talking about? She didn't even interview me. But I heard that and I just started smiling. I'm like, that was the interview. So if like they made you put your guard down, right? By making you so comfortable. So they were just, hey, so you tell us about yourself. So you are just going to say something that you think is just, just something, just having a normal conversation with somebody you just met, waiting for the technical questions or the actual cybersecurity interview. And then they go into, so what school did you go to? You mentioned your school. So why did you choose that school? Oh, well, Malachi is my friend and he was going to that school and I thought it was cool. So I went to that school too. Now, what they are looking for there is your critical thinking abilities or skills. So you just went to the school because Malachi went to the school, really? They are going to move on with somebody else because all that that interview is a soft skills interview, right? What they are talking about, you might think is nothing. It's just casual interview. So you are looking for the main thing, but the main thing is what they are discussing in a casual way. So if they are asking you tell me about yourself, they want to know what you're about. So tell me about yourself. They want to know your experience in the security field as it relates to the job description or what they are looking for, right? So tell me about yourself. If they are looking for somebody to be a security analyst and what you are going to be doing is maybe third-party risk management stuff and compliance, and tell me about yourself. You are speaking to, oh, I used to be a pen tester, and I was doing penetration testing here and penetration testing there, and I did this and I did that, and you didn't say anything about, maybe risk registers or having the skills and knowledge to conduct third-party risk management. You just shot yourself in the foot, right? And then also don't say, I don't want to bore you with my story. Just, this is what I can do to help your company. No, that is also wrong. Like, that is wrong from all angles. Tell me about yourself. Do tell them about yourself, but you have to be prepared for that. Everything that you are saying about yourself should be in relation to the job description or the job that you're applying for, right? So you should bring in the company itself, their mission and what they do. Bring in your skill sets that you are bringing to the table that will help them move from point A to point B, right? They care less about how many dogs you have and everything else that is going on in your life. But at the same time, you are not a robot. You are a human being. So you should also make it more human. You should have that human touch, right? So maybe tell us about yourself. Oh, so maybe probably you can, go with this. Don't go with this example, but I'm talking about like the human aspect, right? So if maybe probably you're a lady, or even if you're a dad, if you can let them know, hey, I'm a cybersecurity analyst during the daytime, but in the evening I'm a dad of 4, so that is also my part. That is kind of more human. It has like a kind of some jovial twist to it, or some funny kick to it, but not being overly funny, right? And then also something they can relate to, right? So that, just to break the ice, tell me about yourself shouldn't be too stiff, just professional, right? And it shouldn't be too casual in the same way. So you should have to find a way of fine-tuning it, but your main focus should be on your skill set that you are bringing to the table, and it should be relevant to the job description, and then what you can do for the company, or how you'll be able to help them, get to their vision, or how you'll be able to help them, do whatever they want to do on the job description, right? So tell me about yourself. Should be focused on them. Like I'm saying, everything should be focused on them, not you. So don't go about listing all the schools you've ever been to, and I have a pilot license. I have a do they really care about all that if you are going to be a security analyst? Right? So it should be focused on, and then also make sure at least you have 3 talking points or 4. So that when they tell me about yourself, I'm talking about, so first off, Dr. Emmanuel Edu, I'm a cybersecurity professional. So I just said that can be a one line, right? My expertise ranges from third-party risk management, compliance in the PCI field, and then also ISO. Maybe if that is something that they are looking for, I can mention those 2 or 3, leave it at that. And then another line, I'll add another line to it. That is all I'm going to say. Right? So 3 things in 3 sentences, 3 simple sentences, right? So anywhere that, even if I'm sleeping and you wake me up and say, tell me about yourself, I know my lines already. Right? But if you don't practice, tell me about yourself is going to be a whole book, because there's so much about you. And if I ask you right now, tell me about yourself, you start thinking, okay, John, I went to MIT and I love flying planes, and everything that you might be saying is just nonsense in relation to the job you're applying to, right? So on a normal day, if we met on the train and I asked you about, hey, so what do you do? Or that is different. Right? So make sure it's an interview. So everything that you're asking should be geared towards what you are looking for and what they are looking for. So hopefully that helps. So I think I gave the tell me about yourself away. So we are not going to ask, right? Anybody, you can practice on that on your own. Please, you're recording and we're going to get this. Yeah. So this is being recorded. It's going to be posted. What is the name of the certification exam after the entry level? So after the entry level, you will be ready to sit for CompTIA Security Plus and Security Analyst if you want to, move up, right? So how do we know, another question, how do we know the interview questions to practice before the interview outside the questions you are telling us about? So like I said, for interviews, the interview questions, there are no secrets. Everything on the job description, you should get your questions from the job description, right? There are some general interview questions that will be going around that people have online and elsewhere, but for the specific interview, those ones you can use for practice if you are not going to any specific interview. But if you are going to a particular interview, your interview questions should come from the job description. Now, how you come up with interview questions is for each single bullet on the job description, make sure you ask yourself, how am I going to do this? Right? In how are you going to do it in practical terms, not in theory? Because if they want somebody to develop security policies, don't go telling them definitions of what the security policy is and all that. They really care less about that. What is your experience doing security policies? How did you do it? Where did you do it? And how can you do one for us? Or how can you help us with ours, right? If they want somebody to help them stay in compliance with HIPAA, how do I help companies stay in compliance with HIPAA? Or can I help a company stay in compliance with HIPAA? That should be the question you should ask yourself. And you should come up with practical, things that you can do to help them. Not HIPAA is about this, HIPAA is about that, HIPAA, they really careless, right? So that is where you are going to get your interview questions from the job description. So that is why it's really, I wouldn't say funny, but it's kind of, I don't know like the right word for it, but if somebody comes to an interview and they look so unprepared, right? So I'm like, the questions were right there, like the answers were right there on the job description the whole time. And you just showed up and we asked you something on the job description and you are there, pulling blanks are like, well, I don't know about that. And then some people, like the funny ones are people who think they can talk around anything. They don't know, but they just keep talking and they think they can talk around it. And those people are just funny, right? Because, I mean, you cannot fool anybody. If you go to the hospital, you don't have to be a medical doctor if your doctor is BSM to know that your doctor is BSM. What do I mean? If they don't know what they are talking about, you don't have to have gone to medical school to know they don't know what they are talking about. You will know that this doctor like what he's talking about is he doesn't really know, right? If they know, they know. If they don't know, So it's built in our human nature, and most especially if you're talking to somebody who is already in the field, who probably knows more than you, or probably that is what they portray to be. If you don't know, just you don't know. If you didn't prepare, I mean, that will be a bad interview to lead to a good one. But don't try to talk yourself around stuff that you really don't, or you didn't prepare for, right? So hopefully that helps. And what question can we ask about the company? Okay, so I'm not sure what question can you ask about the company? How many days in a week do we have to meet for the cyber? Oh, for the cybersecurity entry level, it is self-paced. The main course is self-paced, but the internship is not. The internship we meet once a week on Saturday mornings. What roles do we apply for? So are you talking about like Helen? What roles are you talking about? Job titles? I'm not sure if you can come back again with answer to that. How many questions is being asked during the interview? So family, your name here is family. So for interview questions, really there's no limit to how many they can ask you, right? Mostly what you have to look at is the duration. So some interviews, they will tell you the interview will last for 30 minutes. So they can ask a whole variety of questions within the 30 minutes. Some interviews, they will let you know, hey, it's an hour, it's going to last 1 hour, but we have 4 people interviewing you at the same time, or maybe 15 minutes for each person, right? So it really depends. There is no limit on the number of questions they can ask you. That is why you have to go in prepared, right? And don't let that scare you, because if you are well prepared, right, you went through the whole entire job description, you have a good working knowledge in security itself, you understand security, there's really nothing that they can bring outside the job description that you cannot speak to, right? So yes, preparation is key. Greg, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, the idea is coping with Greg. To what extent we need to concern ourselves with programming language in cybersecurity?
Oh, it depends on what you want to do in security, right? Mostly on the blue side, most especially on analyst side and GRC side, you are not going to do programming. You don't need programming, right? Where you need programming mostly is forensics, ethical hacking aspect of the house. The red side is where you need programming. And even with that, now today, ethical hacking has become so easy. There are a lot of automated tools out there that you can use without actually being able to write your own code or scripts. Right? So, but for you to be a functional ethical hacker who really knows what you are doing, you have to know coding. Yeah, at least know some. So you are obviously, to do ethical hacking, you are going to use Bash, which is Linux. You have to know Ruby, Python, or one of those well, right, to be able to be functional. That side. But if you want to go compliance or GRC analyst, those areas, you really don't need to know any coding, right? But for entry level training, for the hands-on portion, we just take you through the command line, we take you through Linux, but all those is just introductory, right? Just to help you have that feel, but it's not really something that you are necessarily going to do on the job, right? Julius, go ahead.
Dr. Adu, greetings, sir. Quick question. With the PCI DSS, the online option, the self-paced one, what kind of access do we have to you if we have a question or if we get stuck on something?
Oh, you can, there's a link for you to make a Zoom meeting, like to make a Zoom appointment. So we always do one-on-one if you need help with anything, right? And with the online version, you also have access to the live session. So if a live session is starting, you can join the live session as well. So you can ask your questions in there. Mostly the online version is there for folks who register ahead of time before the live session. They can start going through and start learning, right? And even if you are in the live session, when you are done with the live session, that is still going to be there for you to go through, right? So for questions, you can always reach us and, you know, get answers to any questions that you have. And for the online, you're also going to join the internship regardless when one is starting. So you're always going to have access, or you are going to have your questions answered if that is what you are asking.
That was it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Well, okay, so I think someone was asking, do I really need certification before I get the job? So no, you don't, right? There are some folks, there are some people working in cybersecurity making 200 plus with no certifications, right? Some have been making like 300 with no certifications. So that is not also to say certifications are not good. Certifications, I'll encourage everybody, you know, even if you're in the industry already, at least try your hands on 1 or 2 certifications every year, right? That was going to help you, you know, polish up on your learning, and then also let you know what is going on in the industry, right? So certifications, they are good, but certifications are not going to be the ones answering your interview questions for you. So if you go to an interview and you don't know anything, you can have all the certifications in the world. Nobody's going to pick you. You have options of just providing job placement assistance. Yes, Charles, we do provide only job placement assistance. If you go to our website, there's a job placement assistant course on there. If you take that and you are done, then we can move you into doing one-on-one for job placement assistance. PI, you recording? Okay, so yes, we are recording this. What is the name of? Okay, so I think all these we've read already. There are some questions also down here. Well, that's a lot. Certifications will always get you your foot into the door. Yes. Alan, thanks for your kind words. Most job descriptions that I see, they talk about PMP. Must I know PMP? No. So for job descriptions, right? This is also one thing that I want to add. Reason why you don't have to get hung up on certifications and then also on everything on the job description, you knowing it before you apply for that job, is that like guess who posts the job description or who makes the job description? HR. HR don't know cybersecurity, right? So if I'm HR or I'm a recruiter and I'm being told, hey, we need a cybersecurity analyst, so post like a job opening for a company for cybersecurity analyst. Guess what I'm going to do? If I don't have one already, I'm just going to go around online and copy and paste somebody's job description. Or if I have like a friend recruiter who has one, I'm just going to get that and post it. So they know and even if they are given specifically what the analyst is going to do, they are going to put that in there. But then the places where they have to fill out certifications that is needed for that, they are going to copy like the generic ones and put it in there, right? So don't get hung up on certifications. There are people who got jobs, even though the job descriptions were requesting for some certifications that they didn't have. So like I'm saying, they are looking at what you are bringing to the table to help them. Then this is one thing that you have to know about certifications. You are the certification, not a piece of paper you are holding. So if you have the certification and you can't speak to the knowledge and skill that comes with that certification, then you can forget about it. So if you have the knowledge and skill for that certification, but you don't have the certification, you will get a job. But if it's the other way around, you are not going to get a job, right? So you can always go get the certification if you have the knowledge and skill. But if you have the certification and you don't have the knowledge and skill to work, right, nobody is going to bring you on board their team. So you don't necessarily have to have PMP for cybersecurity jobs, but if you have it, it's fine. It's good. The knowledge and skill that you gain from PMP is going to help in not just cybersecurity, but all other fields that you find yourself. So Dennis is asking, the cybersecurity field is very diverse in nature. So what area does Eretmis Academy cover in terms of training? So let me address that real quick. Cybersecurity area is, or like cybersecurity field is broad. It's broad, but it's narrow, right? It's just like there are so many cars, right? There are so many cars around. There are Mercedes, GMC, and the rest. So different cars and how to drive it. They are all cars. So if they are all cybersecurity, how to drive hasn't changed since the invention of cars, right? There are new info tech stuff. There are new bottoms. If you are speeding and you don't want to, run into issues because you are going too fast. There are for Lamborghinis and the rest. And even for some BMs, there are some, buttons that you can press for it to give you some leverage. All that is good. But the principle of really driving the car hasn't changed. I'm yet to see a car that when you turn the steering wheel to the left is going to go right. That hasn't changed. So my point is, when you have a good foundation in cybersecurity, you understand all the major areas in cybersecurity, you have a good working knowledge, regardless of how diverse it is in nature, you can fit anywhere and work because the principles and the theories and the concepts are the same. Right. So now addressing Dennis's question, in our cybersecurity entry-level course, we are training you specifically on the blue side. So everything that is on the red side, ethical hacking, forensics, that is not what we are training you on. But for everything else, in terms of job title, if you go with risk management, third-party risk management, analyst, name it, you are qualified to do any of those jobs because we give you a very strong foundation to be able to function in all those areas. So for everybody, don't get into that habit of, oh, cybersecurity is broad, so I'm going to, when you are starting off in cybersecurity, don't start with a specialty because you don't know anything. What are you going to specialize in? Right? Make sure you have a very solid understanding, a very solid working knowledge in cybersecurity. That way, when you have to specialize, it's easier because you understand what is going on. Right? Because if I just jump into the medical field, I want to be a medical doctor, but I just want to be a surgeon. I mean, how is that going to work if I've not been to medical school? Right? If I don't know medicine, I'm not just going to jump and become a surgeon. So that is why it is important. Most folks who think it is important to have the foundation. So the foundation is for the entry level, we give you more than the foundation. Greg, go ahead.
So this is my other question. How do you advise on those of us who are on this platform that is not familiar with the cloud? And some job description, will be talking about cloud, and some will not. How do you? What is your take on that?
Okay, so the cloud now, everybody and their mom is moving to the cloud, right? So you have to familiarize yourself with the cloud. But like what I said earlier on, the cloud is no different from a normal network, right? So your normal wired network is no different from a cloud. The principle and the concepts in terms of security are the same, right? Now, with that being said, there are different cloud vendors. So you have to make sure at least you have a good working knowledge of how the cloud works and how virtualization works. Now, Amazon and Azure and the rest, AWS and the other cloud services, if you go to their websites, they provide an introductory course, sometimes like a full-blown course, free courses that you can take. I know Amazon has a whole list of it, right? So if you understand security already, that is a simple add-on that you can go and do, right? So you don't have to be a cloud architect or anything, but just understand the cloud. The language also, very key, the language. So you can choose to go with Amazon, right? And understand what is an S3 bucket, what is their E2 and EC2 and all that, like instance and all that. So understand what those are. And if you understand AWS well, it's easy to translate that into Azure because they are the same items you are looking at with different names, right? So the cloud, for if you are going to an interview and they've listed that they use AWS and you have no clue about AWS, please school yourself on it. It's simple as just you going to their website and just taking an introductory course. They are going to introduce you to everything else that they have on there. And you can, but you don't have to go to the interview saying you're a cloud expert, you're an AWS expert. At least you have a good working knowledge of AWS, but you are by no means any expert, and you should let them know, right? Now, with that, they will know, okay, at least you are trainable, so they can train you on that. The technical aspect of this, mostly employers are not too much concerned about. But I'm saying if everything that you are portraying shows that you are lacking some great soft skills, they are not going to bring you on board, right? But if you are showing, you are showing that you are a learner, you are a quick learner, even for things that you have not mastered, at least you have some good working knowledge on. They will work with somebody like that all day than somebody who just will say, oh, for the cloud, I don't know anything about it. That's just a lazy man approach. You can school yourself on cloud within 30 minutes and speak intelligently about it, right? But also you should not go and tell them you are an expert in the cloud because you are not. So hopefully that helps. Now with, I think Tyson is currently, Oracle has free training and certification running through August. Okay, yeah, Tyson, great. Thank you for your response. I'm currently an IT auditor and I wanted to specialize in PCI. Yes, so if you're an IT auditor and you want to specialize in PCI, that is good because you are just specializing in the field that you are in already, right? So which is good, Dennis. So can I secure a job after the entry-level course? Yes, of course. There are a couple of folks on here who took entry-level and they got jobs with entry-level. I mean, you can more than get a job with the entry-level course. So if that is what you're asking. Now, without any more questions or concerns for the group, I think we are about to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody's time. Any questions for the group before, or any comments or concerns, anything that somebody wants to add, they can, add, and then we are going to wrap it up. So there are something in the chat also here. Do you offer PCI training? Oh, yes, Dennis, we do offer PCI training. If you go to our website, eretmisacademy.com, you see our PCI training. And then also, I think for the July 4th, we will post, we will send an email to everybody with the link, but then everything else is also going to be posted in here so everybody can. So in the chats, we posted everything on there. The website, eretmisacademy.com. If you go there, all the training that we have, we like all our training courses are on there, so you can take a look at it. And the free courses, please do if you've not taken any of those already. So I appreciate everybody's time. We are wrapping it up for tonight. So next week, God willing, we are going to meet again for Cyber Chats. And I encourage everybody to stay safe. July 4th, a lot of party going on. So please stay safe. That way we'll be able to meet next week. I appreciate everybody's time. Have a great night and a great 4th of July. We will meet again next week, God willing. Have a great one.
Thank you, Dr.